Hi everyone, welcome to this channel about living in New Zealand. In today's video we are going to be talking about pros and cons of living in New Zealand. There is no perfect country in the world, and New Zealand is far from perfect, but it has so many pros that outweigh cons for many people. That's why we are moving here. Today I'm gonna start with pros and we will slowly move to the cons. So the first pro of New Zealand is its nature. That's not surprised that New Zealand got one of the most beautiful nature in the world. It has the mountains, the lakes, of course it's surrounded by ocean, different ones. It's got rivers, it's got hills, it's got so much. So basically everything what you have in the world, you will find it in New Zealand. Maybe in small presence, but there is still something what you will see. Even the desert. So the nature of New Zealand in itself will make your move here worthwhile. The next one is also the climate, which is related to nature. The climate is very mild here. There are average temperatures between 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. It's never cold, it's never hot. It's pretty dry in some parts of the country and pretty wet in other parts. Basically, there is something for everyone. You can pick where you want to live in the country, depending on what climate do you like. I like dry climate and I don't mind when it's a bit hot and a bit cold. So I moved to the South Island area, Queenstown. The next pro of New Zealand is people and lifestyle. People here are super friendly, they are very nice and polite to each other, they very chilled and relaxed and stress-free. The lifestyle is also, the stress is just minimal here, you will feel it. The overall vibe of the country, it's just very relaxed, so you are not stressed, you just live your life, you know, and everything is easy, well organized, that you don't have to stress. So that's also the big point for people. Maybe you are also in your age where you just want to relax, you don't want to hustle anymore, you want to escape large cities, maybe in Europe or in US, you just want to have a quieter, stress-free life. New Zealand is perfect in that sense, and it's also why I moved here, to reduce the stress and to enjoy life more. Other plus of New Zealand, how much space you have. The population of New Zealand is only around 5 million, so and the size is about the same as the United Kingdom, so it's pretty large country still, but there are not many people, so you will have a lot of space to yourself. You can go on walks by yourself, on hikes, the roads are not crowded. Also, living situation is not that packed, so you will always have a house with a piece of land. It's enough space for everyone to have their own house. You don't have to be in an apartment and to live like in a 20 floors house, you know. Usually people just have a single floor, one floor house and that's it, and it's just wonderful, you know. It's such a provincial way of living, which is also very nice, but could be a downside for someone. So in my case, I really enjoyed. Another large benefit of New Zealand is free healthcare. If you are a resident here, not like a visitor or a student, if you have a residency, you will enjoy free healthcare. You only have to pay like a fee when you visit the general practitioner of 50 bucks, 50 bucks, and then everything is actually paid by the government, subsidized. So you don't have to pay these huge bills for medical care like in some countries. It's just nightmare, for example in US. Here all surgeries and just treatments, they are actually paid by the government, which is so nice. And healthcare is free for children up to maybe 12 years old. So if you have children, this is also one of the best countries in the world. Another point for New Zealand is just how everything is simple and organized here. Everything from getting your groceries to buying a car, going somewhere, it's just super easy, straightforward, very logical, and you don't have to think or like make a plan or, you know, like figure out something because it's already was figured out for you. You know, in some less organized countries, there are a lot of work has to be done from your side in terms of like paperwork or like going somewhere to run errands. Here it's so smooth, like everything just well done, so everything is super quick and fast. Even if you buy a car, it's just made online, you know, you don't have to go to the office and to fill out 100 forms. The number plates belong to the car, not to the person, so you don't have to do anything. Basically, like you just go online, like press the button and that's it. Everything is just amazing in that sense. And I know that might be the same for many developed countries, like for example in European Union, in UK or in Germany, even in US. But I think New Zealand has also some things much easier than other countries. For example, buying a car in New Zealand would be much easier than would be buying a car in Germany. Many things which are just like easy peasy, really. It's incredible. It also makes your life so much less stressed when you have to deal with all these offices and people and going through 100 rounds. It's just super easy. Another pro of living in New Zealand is food. Food is really high quality. It tastes amazing. It's a bit pricey, yes, but you get what you pay for. Even if you eat out or you buy groceries in a supermarket, everything is just, it's great. The quality, the ingredients, the meals are very well done. They are all tasty, and you have a lot of cuisines, so you can try cuisines from all over the world. Although you are in the end of the world in a small island, but here you got different nationalities who brought their original cuisine, and the quality, the recipes, everything is just fantastic. I think it's one of the best places actually for food. Although it's a small island, but it's amazing. Even if you are from the country, like where food and cuisine is very developed and a high end, like in France, you might be surprised here when you go to the cafe. It might be a simple cafe, but how they present meals, the ingredients, how it tastes, it's just the next level. There are so many ingredients, I don't know, everything is super healthy and it just tastes really good. And the presentation, like presentation made very nice. It looks beautiful. I don't know why we do it here. I lived in Germany and Austria, in Serbia last years of my life, so in all these countries it always was pretty simple. People don't present food so well, I think. It's just like, yeah, okay, you got it, and you don't have to have it pretty. But here everything you order is looks very nice and tastes very nice, and portions are very big. So it's great for food, and it's not super expensive like in US, for example. You still pay a reasonable price and it tastes amazing. And the next point, also pro for New Zealand related to food and drink, it's coffee and it's wine. New Zealand's coffee is just out of the world. I don't know how they do it, but each coffee you take, it just tastes so great. Like, I am a huge coffee lover. I always try new coffees and new cafes in different countries. And if I love one place, like if I really like coffee in one place, I would go there all the time. Because it's very difficult in some countries to find good tasting coffee. I don't know what's wrong with it, but they do it in a different way. But in New Zealand, everywhere you go, you get the coffee, like flat white, which is like espresso with a bit of milk, and like a small cappuccino. It tastes just great. Like, I don't know, it just tastes as I never tasted before, Like, sometimes you like, oh, something wrong with this coffee, but in New Zealand, no, it's just the best. I don't know how they do it, it's just magic. And the wine. New Zealand is a huge producer for wine. There are particular regions where they grow wine, and it's one of the best wines in the world. But I haven't tried it yet. I only have heard about wine here, so I am yet to explore the wines. And I guess it should be one of the best, because as people say who loves wine, that New Zealand is one of the best countries for wine. And also the beer. I only tried one beer yet, but I'm a huge beer lover, especially craft beer, and there are a lot of craft breweries here, and I'm super excited to try them all. I love just trying to sample the bunch of different beers with different tastes and flavors, and New Zealand also great for it. So if you like to drink, wherever it's coffee, beer or wine, New Zealand is one of the best places in the world. So let's jump to cons of living in New Zealand, because no country is perfect, as we know, and you have to know what are the disadvantages of living here, so you can be well prepared, so you are also not being surprised that much. The first con, I think, it's the cost of living. Yeah, it's not a cheap place. It's still more affordable than US, or it's pretty similar to Australia, I guess, but it's can be more expensive than many European countries, like take classic France or Germany, maybe in the same page with UK, and some things more expensive than UK. So if you are gonna be living here as a single, as I'm living here, you need at least 2,000 US dollars, like 2,000 and 2,500 per month you need to have, otherwise you will not manage. So as a family you need like 5K, 5 US dollar already to have on your hands, so you can rent a bigger house and pay for all your bills. The food is expensive in that sense. If you have a large family, the food will be your second large expense. So that just to keep in mind that it's not a cheap place, and you have to have either savings or to get a good job here, which can provide you with a good salary. The second con, also housing and prices of houses. Firstly, the housing here is a bit a problem because there are not too many houses. I'm not sure why, but there are huge competition for houses. So if you are seeing like ad, you apply, you will be with many other people who wants to get the same house, and many people even share houses. So you are not renting the entire house, you rather just have a room with maybe 2-3 other people in the house. And I see it a lot, and that's pretty scary because I didn't used to it, you know, like in European countries, because we live in apartments, you can rent an apartment at least, but here apartments are limited, and most cities they don't have apartments, only large cities have apartments. So you are forced to rent a house, and of course you need money to rent an entire house. A house would cost at least 1,500 US dollar to 2,000 US dollars. So you have to either pay this rent yourself or you share it with other people or your partner. And so many people just decide to share houses. If you are single, it can be difficult to rent an entire house, also because maybe landlords don't want to have a single, they rather pick families or couples. So it can be tough. Now I have a rent in Wanaka, it's close to Queenstown, for 2 months for a house, but I also will have to seek a house afterwards for a long term, and it's pretty tough because for a long term we of course want to have a person who is reliable, right? Maybe a couple or a family, maybe not a foreigner, so it can be challenging, I guess, than in other countries. And house prices are also very high here, one of the highest in the world. So average house costs 1 million New Zealand dollar, which is about 600,000 euro, which is quite a lot. I mean, in many countries you can get a pretty good house for about 300,000 US dollars, but here not. So it's a big problem right now in New Zealand because house prices are rising like very rapidly, and of course salaries are not growing that fast, and so people have to take mortgages, and for mortgage you need to have at least 10% deposit. So if you're buying a house for 1 million New Zealand dollar, you have to have already 100,000 in savings, which is also pretty difficult if you are single, for example, and you only have one income. So that's a big problem here. Another con of New Zealand that might be con for someone, for some not. There are not many large cities. There are only 3 kind of big cities. It's Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch. Auckland has about 1.5 million people. Wellington has about 200,000-300,000 people, and Christchurch has about 350,000 people, which isn't really large, right? If you are from different country. 1.5 million, it's only one large city basically you have, in it's Auckland, and other cities are pretty middle size or small. So if you are very into city life and you want to live in a huge city, you only have Auckland, but it's also not really huge because it's widespread. There are not really like cities and city life here, so you're not coming here to live in a city, I guess. Another disadvantage of living in New Zealand and working here, if you are working here, are low salaries. Salaries are not high. Average salary is about 55 New Zealand dollars to 60 New Zealand dollars, which is like 30,000 euro. It's not high, right? It's like 2,000 euro per month or something. It's just enough to cover your rent, to cover your living expenses. You don't have much savings. You cannot afford a lot. So you will get much better salaries in countries like US or Australia, or even UK, like London, Germany, large cities in Germany. You will have a better salary than here. Just keep it in mind. And as a con, if you don't have a car here, the public transportation is very undeveloped and pretty much not existent, because only large cities like Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch have a public transport, and it's not very convenient as in European Union, for example. It's not punctual, it doesn't run like every 5 minutes. Even in Christchurch, it's like one bus in 20 minutes. They delay pretty regularly. It's not like in Germany, if it's 1 minute delay, you're already stressed. Here you can be like 10 minutes late. Public transport, it's undeveloped because people here have cars, so everybody has a car. First thing what I did when I got here, I learned how to drive, because I never used to drive a car. I lived in Europe, so I was like, okay, now I moved to New Zealand, I have to learn how to drive. But I have a driving license, so I just took a couple of driving lessons here with a Kiwi instructor. I learned pretty quickly because it's super easy to drive, so it's everything done here for drivers actually. That's why everybody has a car, and it's pretty normal that you drive everywhere with a car and not with a bus. There are no trains, there are only like maybe a bit like tourist train from Dunedin to Christchurch, I guess. The trains are very limited, so mainly these are buses, and of course buses are slow, so nobody wants to take you on a bus, so everybody drives the cars, and the cars are very affordable here, so that's why I bought a car right after I arrived, and it's very convenient to have a car. So because most of the time you live in a house, all houses have their private parking space, and you don't have a problem with the parking then. Of course, if you live in an apartment in a city, then you have to consider where you're gonna to park. So the last con is more about living situation. Houses here, they don't have central heating, right? If you are from Europe, you're used to central heating where you have your battery, it's on when you want to, you just turn it on. But here people, if it's cold, people will switch on air conditioning, and we call it heat pump. I don't know why. I have here also air conditioning, but for us, of course, it's air conditioning, and that's how you used to warm up your house. So just keep it in mind that it's maybe colder in the winter, and you have your one air conditioning, and it will basically blow up on one room, right? It will blow up on you if you're sitting in this room. But if you go to the different room and there is no air conditioning, it's gonna be cold. So there is no central heating. You cannot warm up your house. But it's not about all houses. Some newer built houses have a central heating, or they use different heating methods like a floor heater and etc. So it's not like each house has this problem, but a lot of houses don't have a heating, so just keep it in mind. But it's still a warm country, you know, you don't have to be afraid that you're gonna freeze here like in -20 and you don't have a heating. It's even if you're in a North Island, you are never gonna be freezing, so there is never temperature like below 10 degrees, so it's not really cold, but it's of course uncomfortable if it's gonna be 10 degrees and you don't have a warm house, but you will figure out how to manage it. Everybody manages this. So guys, those were all my points, and if you have something to add, like pros and cons of living in New Zealand, just comment below. And if you want to be interviewed on this channel, I'm gonna be doing interviews with people who moved here, who live here, or even if you're local and you want to share something about New Zealand to other foreigners just like me, message me on Instagram. I will put the link below, or email me on mail at simplenewzealand.com, and we can chat, we can meet, we can even do a video call. Yeah, shoot me a message if you're interested, and of course subscribe for more videos about New Zealand. See you!